I had the honor of coaching the women's track and field team here at UW La Crosse from 1991 to 2016. And in that time, we had many, many wonderful women athletes on our team. None of them were any better, for sure, than Ashton May was.
I'm Maggie May, one of Ashton's little sisters. Her and I were 14 months apart, so we did everything together, including being teammates for 3 wonderful years. I triple jumped with her as well as ran on the 4x100 meter relay with her for 1 year. She actually handed off the baton to me, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of people get to compete with their siblings, let alone at the collegiate level, and I feel so honored that I got to do that for 3 years. We competed at conference meets and earned conference championships and went to nationals together and earned All-American honors together and broke a school record together. And in between all those big moments, we made so many wonderful memories.
My name is Caitlin Walgrave, and I had the privilege of competing with Ashton my sophomore, junior, and senior years. I was her captain, her teammate, and most importantly, her friend. Ashton was a type of individual that whether you were competing with her and against her, she always wanted you to do well.
Ashton was always so encouraging. She's always the first one to call me after every track meet, wanting to know how I did. And if I didn't compete the way that I would wanted to, she would say, "What's the plan? What are you going to do?" And we would make a plan together on how I could better myself.
My name is Travis Erickson, and I coached at Wisconsin La Crosse in most of the 2000s, which included recruiting Ashton and coaching her for her first 3 years as a jumper primarily. I was a jumps coach. I worked with the sprinters a bit too, but mainly it was the jumps. Ashton was obviously a fantastic athlete, and we were really excited to have her come to La Crosse because of this kind of big group of jumpers we were developing. But then when she arrived, we really found what a great person she was, and she just was so caring and generous, and just the external qualities you don't always get out of an athlete. She possessed all of them, and that level of maturity that she came in with was fantastic.
One of the first posts I have from her is actually her telling me that she wasn't going to be competing that weekend, so I better go out and kick some butt in the long jump. So she just immediately was a wonderful teammate and great friend as soon as she joined the team.
Ashton and I like to hold each other's blocks at meets as often as we could. It's something that started in high school for us, and we just felt like we could be each other's good luck charms, and we like to give each other little motivational talks right before the race. Although I do remember one meet, I was about to run the 100-meter hurdles, and I was giving her my sweats, and I told her something along the lines of I felt tired or my legs felt sore. And she told me she hoped I didn't biff it over one of the hurdles. That was the last thing she said to me before my race. So later in the meet, she was running a 200, which she was not really a big fan of that race. And so right before she got in the blocks, I told her that I hoped she did not run out of gas before the end of her race.
My name is Laurel Thomas, and I guess my initial impression of Ashton was just that she was amazing and super gifted at track and field and awesome. I remember being just in awe of her, watching her compete.
She was a phenomenal athlete, and whether it was a normal meet, conference meet, national meet, any meet that I had, Ashton was pretty much at every single one of those events.
Ashton had a total dedication to her sport. She was fiercely competitive. And in the 40 years that I coached, I probably never saw anybody that had a better work ethic than Ashton did.
As an athlete, she worked really, really hard. She just did what you asked her to do. She was a very durable athlete. She was very rarely injured, and just would kind of consistently perform at a very, very high level, especially at those big meets, those conference and those national meets. You knew that, she was kind of just like you wound her up, you got her ready for that meet, and then you just let her loose and just stayed out of her way, and you knew that she was going to be very, very successful in those competitions.
My name is Abby Varela, formerly Abby Schultz. I competed with Ashton at UWL. We both did long jump and triple jump, so we spent a lot of time together. I competed with her for 2.5 years until I was injured and I couldn't compete anymore, but I still got to hang out with her and watch her and all of her success for another year in sort of an assistant coach role.
Hi fam, my name is Kaylee Charlton and I competed at UW La Crosse from 2007 until 2011. I competed with Ashton May for 3 years, so she was 1 year older than me, and then she coached me my final year, my senior year. I was lucky because Ashton and I competed in a lot of the same events, so we both did short sprints and jumps, so 55, 100, 200, 4x1, 4x2, and then the long jump. So I was really lucky. I had a lot of years and a lot of memories with Ashton.
I have memories of our hotel room stays together, of ice baths in our hotels, waking up the morning of nationals together, being so nervous, eating breakfast.
She was my biggest role model growing up, and one of my favorite memories was her teaching me how to triple jump in our backyard.
At some point in time, Ash and I must have had a conversation about how we liked when we would log into Facebook and have a notification from somebody. Like, it made us feel good, I don't know. So we just randomly started posting on each other's Facebook page to give each other the notification. Like, the post would say something like, hey, just writing on your wall so that you have a notification to make your day. I mean, it's dumb, but it was fun. It was something that we used to do.
I mean, long legs. Girls got some long legs, which, helps with in the whole speed department thing.
When she started running, she had these huge long strides that just tore up the track, and she just kept building momentum and speed as she went. It was so fun to watch.
I think my first memory of Ashton was at a meet at the University of Wisconsin, and I was one of the only freshmen that went to this meet, and I remember I didn't know a lot of the upperclassmen at that time, and Ashton took time in between events to come and introduce herself and just try to get to know me, which I thought was great. And she introduced me to a bunch of the other upperclassmen, and we found that we had a lot in common. We were both from southern Minnesota.
I remember her senior year, she definitely was the mother hen of the team, and so many people referred to her that way. She just loved taking the underclassmen under her wing, showing them the way of UWL track and field, and she definitely led by example. She went out and she worked hard at practice, in the weight rooms, and at meets, and everybody wanted to follow her, and she was our person that we could rely on, that we could count on, that we went to for support. So she definitely was a leader her senior year, and even years before then, she definitely led by example.
Well, I remember being pretty nervous as a freshman coming into the track team, especially because of the group of jumpers that were already there. They were so wildly talented. And Ashton was one of the first people that made me feel comfortable, kind of made me feel at home. She was a sophomore when I was a freshman, so she had already been there, and she instantly kind of made me feel like I was supposed to be a part of the UWL track family, just with her kindness. She was so kind.
At nationals, we ran an even faster time and placed third, and I just remember afterwards just running in and just giving each other huge hugs. And I've seen Ashton win other events, and you could just tell that she was more excited for this just because it was kind of it's a relay, it's a team thing, and it was just really cool that she was so happy that the four of us had accomplished that.
For the 3 years that Ashton and I were teammates, so many people commented about how they couldn't believe we were sisters because we never fought. But I think Coach Healy witnessed the only time that we ever fought, and it was more so Ashton yelling at me. So her senior year, we were on the 4x1 relay together. She was the second leg, handing off to me. And when we first started doing handoffs in practice, I was not getting out hard enough, and so she was just blowing right past me. And she was not happy about it. She came up and was yelling at me about how I needed to get out harder and faster if I wanted to be on this relay. She was super passionate about it. It was her 4th year being on the 4x1, and she had been an All-American all other years, so she definitely wanted to end on a big note. And she was gonna make darn sure that her sister was not gonna screw that up. So I listened, and I got out harder, and we ended up placing the highest that she ever placed at nationals in the 4x1. So
the defining moment for me in terms of what I remember most about Ashton as an athlete and as a person would have occurred when she was a senior, actually when she was a junior. It was my last year coaching at lacrosse in 2009 at Outdoor Nationals. And at that meet, she competed in the long jump and triple jump. And in the long jump, she got 4th behind Caitlin Shutter and Katie Fondo and another athlete. And we got done and we were kind of joking around. I was like, man, it would have been nice to go 1, 2, 3. And she said something that just has stuck with me to this day. She said, yeah, but by me being 4th, it means that we're all on the same side of the podium. And it's funny to me to think that would be the first thing that she would think of. She wasn't disappointed that she finished 4th instead of 3rd. She just thought it was really cool that all 3 of the athletes would be on the same side of the podium. She said, we could all hold hands up there, and it really, I think, spoke to how much she just enjoyed competing, how much she enjoyed being with her teammates, and that, win or lose, in this case, she obviously didn't lose, but in this case, maybe just fell short of what would be really, really special, but she put a positive spin on it, and I think that really exemplifies who she was. She never really thought negatively about any situation that I can recall, and it made, my job as her coach really, really easy.
Hi, I'm Katie Wagner. I was an assistant coach on the team when Ashton came in. I worked with her a little bit in her first couple years, but I was her main jumps coach during her senior season. And after that, we coached together when she helped out on the team for 2 years.
She was always smiling. I always would joke with her about how she was a coach's pet. And really, it was just because, what coach wouldn't want to have her as an athlete? She was just any coach's dream, I'm sure.
I remember that when we first met, I thought she was pretty quiet, not very outgoing, kind of reserved, but that changed eventually.
Ashton lived for conference week. It was her favorite 2 weeks of the entire track and field season. She loved all of the excitement and the anticipation and the team camaraderie, and she definitely loved those dress-up days. She went all out for conference dress-up days. When it was her senior year and she was captain and finally got to decide on the dress-up days, she wanted to make them weeks in advance. That way everybody could start thinking about what they wanted to dress as and maybe have their parents bring items from home to make their dress-up outfits a little better. And my favorite 2 outfits that she had were both from her senior year. The first one was indoor conference. We did Generation Day, so all of the seniors dressed as grandmas, and she did not let us down. She had a wig, she had a cane, she had a grandma dress, a grandma sweater. It was fantastic. She walked around practice with her little grandma steps all hunched over. She definitely played the part. And the other one was from outdoor conference. We had Gangster Day, and her and I actually dressed together. We kind of dressed each other. We did each other's hair. We picked out our big baggy clothes we were gonna wear. And we even drew tattoos on each other's arms with our names on them. Hers was Ashton in barbed wire, and mine was Megs in fire. And we got a picture of our tattoos together. It's one of my favorite photos of the 2 of us.
I also definitely thought she was older than a sophomore for like a while, because she was just so mature and responsible and kind of took on that mama bear figure.
Ashton was an extremely coachable athlete. She was the first one to arrive to practice, the last one to leave every day. Extremely consistent, and you knew she always put the work in. We had a lot of fun at practice. But on meet days when she really shined, and it didn't matter if it was the first meet of the season or the national championships, she really took advantage of every opportunity she had, just stepping on the runway or getting on the track, and really just rose to the occasion and competed with no fear. And I really respected that. It really showed the confidence that she had in herself and how much she trusted herself and trusted her coaches through the whole process.
I struggled a lot with Ashton's passing. I remember, when it happened, I think I was in denial, and I remember I didn't want to go in, and when I went in, I was so overwhelmed by the posters and the pictures, and I almost wanted to just leave the room. And I looked up, and another teammate was looking straight at me and came running at me, and that's her sister Maggie. And I remember Maggie gave me a hug and I think was holding me up more than I was holding myself up. I think about really tragic events that happen, and when you go through it, you have so many questions and so many feelings and raw emotions. And you really have to go, why? Why did something like this happen? And when I think about that with Ashton, I think about the incredible shadow that she cast as a person. And after the number of years, she continues to cast that shadow. And her legacy is just of an incredibly good and genuine person.
Ashton loved being a part of this team. She loved everything about it. She loved the fun that we had in practice. She loved the high competitiveness at meets. She loved cheering for everybody. She was always one of the first people at meets cheering for people on the track. She was one of the first ones to give high fives or hugs after big performances or personal records. I remember at so many meets, she was on the runway getting ready to do her jump, and she would stop because a race was going on, and she would stop and wait for her teammates to run by so she could cheer for them and then finish her jump. She definitely was out there to be a team player, and she loved that.
Her passion for the sport is what made me fall in love with track and field.
When Ashton was a senior, she competed in 5 events at the Outdoor Conference Championships: long jump, triple jump, 100, 200, and 4x1. That's something that she wanted to do. I think if Coach Healy had even brought up the idea of not doing one of those events, she would have been really mad. She knew she could handle it. She knew she could score points in all the events, which she did. And I think it says a lot about her commitment to the team, her love for the team. She really wanted to do everything possible to help her team be at their very best.
She had a compassion for her fellow teammates, and she was without a doubt one of the best teammates that anybody would want to have.
Honestly, Ashton's friendship made me a better person. Some people may remember Ashton for her outstanding achievements, but anyone who knew her as a person will remember the impact that she had on our lives.
And I just hope that every day I'm doing a little bit more to try to live up to the type of person that she was.
So not only was Ashton a great teammate, but she was also a great friend of mine off the track as well. The last time I saw her was when she came to my baby shower a couple months before she passed. And so I lived in Green Bay and she lived in La Crosse. And for those of you that have done that drive, it's not a quick drive. And she drove that up for the day with one of our friends, Dernan, and came to that shower, and that meant so much to me. And she was just that person that was going to be there no matter what, supporting you even when we were done competing. She was still there for me. And so not only was she a great teammate, she was an even greater friend, and I miss her dearly.
She was one of the most kind people that I know. Her family and friends were the most important things to her, and she would do anything for us. Everything she did with passion and a positive attitude. She taught me truly what it means to be a good person, what it means to be kind, what it means to be passionate and compassionate.
I miss her quite a bit because she just had such a cheery optimism for life and for track and field, which track and field can be a really, really demanding sport because you always know numerically exactly where you are, and sometimes you're not at your best and the numbers don't lie. And she was always able to put that positive spin and stay positive, and had such a great attitude towards everything. So I miss her quite a bit, and it's just nice that lacrosse still remembers her legacy as a student athlete. I think that's very, very important, and I really appreciated the opportunity to work with her for as long as I was able to.
I think when Ashton was on the team, she really set the standard for everyone else. She was really just full of gratitude and kindness and passion in everything that she did. And I think that's really what we should all be doing in how we live our lives. So I'm grateful that she touched my life the way that she did and continues to kind of be a role model for current and future team members as well.
Ashton was with me when I took my very first ice bath at state track my junior year of high school. As I didn't want to get in the ice bath, she told me,
"If you can't handle this, you can't handle being a champion."
If you can't handle this, you can't handle being a champion. I have used her words throughout my career at UWL and still today. I've used those words when I didn't want to do that last 200 repeat, when I was fighting through injuries, anytime that I wanted to give up. I heard her in the back of my mind telling me that if you can't handle this, you can't handle being a champion. And that's what pushed me one step further at every single practice, at every single meet, every single lift.
Ashton personified what I would consider what our program was all about. It was all about being together, being a family, working together and helping each other. And that was Ashton.
She thought of others before herself. She was truly an amazing, one-of-a-kind person, and the world will never stop missing her.